Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of Retro Vertigo, gaming with less than 17-bit, the only podcast in the world filled with complete idiots. With us, we have me, John, Brian,
Hey, Internet.
Edward,
Hello.
Sam,
How's it going?
and Craig.
G'day.
So we have Sam and Craig weren't on the last episode, and Ben is off to America to buy some crack cocaine or something. Is that what?
I think that's right.
Sam is Mr. Sonic. He's going to walk us through basically every step-by-step how to achieve
How to unlock all the secrets.
Where all the rings are.
and die through a playthrough of every game.
I feel like Sam like needs a much bigger introduction. Like he needs from the corners of the world came one man whose destiny was to master Sonic. That man is Sam.
With
Yeah,
no
I
other
did play the
redeeming
game
skills.
a few times.
Actually, that should be said about Sam as well. He's really good at Sonic, but he's really shit at everything else in life.
That's a little bit harsh.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, let's that.
Every other game.
He's
I
just
meant
Hey,
every other game.
Yeah.
He's an assistant manager at his work. Come on, you don't just get that by walking in the door.
I seem to remember.
The test for assistant manager was how good you were at Sonic the Hedgehog. So
That was like,
Pretty fucking fortunate. Should we do the language warning as well?
The what?
uh,
Oh
language
yeah, that's right. And we've got to warn about the there'll be scattered
Fucking
swearing. Like, Brian, if there's a game that Brian hates, we'll be here for
which is inevitable.
which is if everyone who listened to the previous podcast will know, Mario 2 kind of starting off. There'll also probably be some veiled racism, sexism, and every other ism in the world.
Jism, especially Jism.
They are watching videos of each other. Oh yeah, now lick your nipples.
Yeah, that's why I like.
So,
Speaking of which, like before, like I was playing. I know we're done with Mario. That was our last podcast, but I was playing the new Super Mario Brothers Wii U version, and I'm traveling along. I'm having a merry old innocent time in the land of Mario, and I get up to Toad, and he says to me, "We're rooting for you." And I don't know what that means in other countries, but "we're rooting for you" means all the Toads are getting together and fucking in support of Mario.
for you.
Yeah.
you.
Oh, don't worry. I'll go and
Mario!
I'll go dodge the fucking fire-breathing dragons and jump into the Loombas and shit.
You guys all just go up and have sex.
And root for me.
We're rooting for you. We made you a tape.
They're doing it for you because you're unable to yourself, because no one will root you.
Yeah. It's
And the other thing is,
either a
then,
compliment or a really big insult.
then he gives you a toad, a mushroom. So it's like
So you don't like this game, Brian? You're cursing.
he's not prepared to accept the consequences of his rooting. He has a baby, and then he's like, "Oh, we don't want to actually deal with the consequences, so you better take the baby off us." Still rooting for you.
They're rooting for you, because you're.
No, they're not rooting you. They're all just sitting around rooting each other
Right.
for you.
Brian, they're doing you a favour, all right? Stop knocking.
Exactly. Without their rooting, you wouldn't be able to beat the game.
But everybody thinks Mario is so fucking innocent, but everyone's just sitting around like in this debauchery. Like it's.
We did
it's-
mention last
so-
week, the Miyamoto does have kind of a warped sense of life.
Surprised.
It's
I
not
did
human.
see a picture talking about Mario recently that somebody had put Mario getting up to the castle instead of the princess. You've got Consuelo there going, "No, she not here. You try other castle."
As you can see, Sam's Consuelo accent is perfect.
Remember that racist warning?
That's a stereotype. Yeah.
Isn't coming out.
Got Brian cursing. Yeah.
So who's this Sonic guy? That we
Okay,
get to talk-
so, alright, let's move on to Sonic, people. We had Mario last week. This week we've got we mentioned on the podcast last week that Alex Kidd was Sega's answer to Mario. And as we all know, it failed. It was not really an answer to Mario. It's kind of like an
They
answer
gave
like,
it away, literally.
here is the ultimate question, and Sega's answer is meh. So they tried again, as Sega is prone to do. We failed. Let's try again. And it's a good life lesson, kids. If you fail, try again and bring out Sonic. Gee,
Well, Sonic came out like a good 7 years after the first Mario, right? So it was a little bit.
the first console Mario, yeah, but
Yeah. So let's how about take us a journey through the history of Sonic while we've got your attention still.
Sam, what year were you born?
78.
1978. A child came into the world.
This is not an episode about Sonic. It's an episode about Sam.
Felt a rumble.
Oh, that's okay. I can handle
World
that.
felt a rumble, and they knew then that a game had to be made that could challenge this man.
Baby.
Unfortunately, they failed because it's Sega and they fail at everything.
Hey. Yeah, it's true.
Okay, so yeah, Sonic.
So
Look.
let's start at the very beginning with Yujo Naka and Naoto Oshima. Oshima's the character designer, and Naka is the lead programmer. And he was a guy who was already established himself by being lead programmer for the classic Master System game Phantasy Star. Anyone who hasn't played Phantasy Star should go out and check that out. It's freaking awesome, man. It's like the series went on for several iterations, and it all began with Yujo Naka.
Is that the PH Fantasy Star?
Yeah, PH Fantasy. So I see RPG, sci-fi RPG on
Yeah,
Master.
yeah. That's awesome. I have that on VC as well. So yeah.
Had like a few sequels, and there was Fantasy Star Online, and it's absolutely brilliant game. And in 1990, Sega wants to come up with a game that has a character that would rival Mario. And it's already starting out a little bit bizarre. Like, they don't want to come up with a game that will rival Super Mario Brothers. They want to come up with a game with a character.
Well, they actually did it with a competition, and
Oh, really?
yeah, it was actually they actually went through. Sega Japan actually held a competition with all their employees to see who could actually come up with a character that could rival Mario, and whatever the dude's name is that came up with him. What did you say his name was, Brian?
Oshima.
Yeah, he came up with what he basically did is he took Mario and reversed him. Mario's a human, so Sonic was an animal. Mario chiefly wears red, so Sonic's blue. Mario speed isn't something that is really essential to Mario, so Sonic was fast. Mario had coins and Sonic collects rings.
So the logic there was that if we create something completely the opposite of this really popular character, we're going to get an even more popular character.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Mario's gay, so Sonic is gay.
It's the opposite.
it's like
Retro
that fucking homeopathy
exactly.
or whatever it is. Like, we want to cure insomnia, so we'll feed you caffeine. It's kind of the same shit,
It's like a circle, What?
This is something I thought of before coming onto this podcast, was when I was, a young little Master System Avaconda, or what do you call fan. Aficionado, that's it. Yeah.
Avocado.
Avocado. Yeah. I've had a couple of beers. Give me a break. A fan. It just felt really forced, and I think there's a point. The idea that this character was just created to, rival Mario. Look, we got this character, and that's it. It felt really forced and sort of fake. You know what I mean? Like, the game didn't like, they're advertising Sonic. This is the great new game, but it didn't really become a great game on its own merits, other than they just advertised the snot out of it and told everyone to buy it.
Well,
Anyway.
that's the thing, though. Everything about Sega was just full of shit, really. Like, everything that they did was, was and still is. Like, it just, they come up with terms like blast processing to sell their console. Just make shit up, basically. It's like pull out terms out their ass just to impress people, and the mascot kind of represents that. The whole philosophy. They just come up with bullshit and try to market it to people, basically.
Yeah. Well, the Master System was technically the superior console, but they just
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
get the numbers, could they? You know,
It was
you know,
beautiful.
Like the
It was-
games were just better on Nintendo.
So that's the thing, right? So the Master System was actually in Australia and Europe. It was actually pretty popular as well. But in North America and Japan, no one actually gave a shit about it. And
That's true.
you know, as we said, they had the little mascot Alex Kidd, and before that, they even tried to push Opa Opa as a mascot.
Opa.
Opa,
You're
yeah.
awesome.
Opa Opa, as we all know, is what's that game? It's not Fantasy Star. It's Fantasy.
That's F. The F. That's F. Fantasy.
Fantasy World or something. Fantasy. I can't remember that. It's just the name escapes me. But you know, everyone wants like a little tiny ship with legs as a mascot. Like that's just the perfect mascot, right?
Yeah,
like
man.
so much fucking character. That, like Opa Opa. So he Opa Opa fails. So they replace him with Alex Kidd, and you know
Fantasy
Alex Kidd-
Zone.
Fantasy Zone. That's the one. Yep.
Yep. You can land and walk
Alex
along
Kidd
the ground. Yeah.
doesn't have.
And they
Alex Kidd
literally
doesn't
were giving it away with the Master System, weren't they? So that was inbuilt.
Yeah,
in
Alex
the
Kidd, they
system.
were giving away, and I think that the first Alex Kidd game, don't get me wrong, is fucking brilliant, you know. But as a mascot, you know, what is he? He's just some dude with big ears, really.
Big fist.
Yeah,
You've got a
that
big-
beats guys by playing paper scissors rock with them.
Okay,
Exactly.
first of all, it is not paper scissors rock. It's fucking Jenkin, all right?
Which is Japanese for paper scissors rock, or
Yeah, I think isn't it just a made up word?
all right.
rhymes with wankin. That's what he does.
Sounds German.
The other
Well,
thing
you
he
do
does with
both
the
with
big
your
fist.
hands, so.
Yeah.
Ooh. This conversation got weird.
Oh god, the video just got weird as well.
Anyway, back to Sonic.
Sonic, onto Sonic.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So-
they needed a character to. Well, apparently they thought they needed a character. Can we just keep in mind the disclaimer with Sega? They thought they needed a character to compete with Mario, and where is the Sega console now? Exactly.
Oh, but that's a whole different story, though. But we won't get into that.
Their business acumen was not exactly what you would call good.
We could talk about that for 2 hours. Yeah.
So you know, so as we said, Yuji Naka forms the Sonic team. He enlists the bass player of the J-pop band Dreams Come True, as we all know, you know, famous J-pop band, to provide the score. And
It's fine.
as Sam said, you know, he made Sonic. They made Sonic everything that Mario wasn't. You know, he was, you know, cool. He was fast. He was not a fat lazy guy. He was like really fit, spinning around, and it kind of ties in with that whole Sega slogan: Sega does what Nintendo don't.
Oh my god.
Was that a slogan at the time?
It was, yeah. It
I'd
was on
forgotten
Is
about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Again, Sega is not exactly the best. Was never exactly the best at business.
Go back and watch some of his Sega ads. They just like all just ripping on Nintendo basically. Sega like started the war that they couldn't win basically. Really.
It's like the United States and Afghanistan. Or something.
Yeah, we'll go. Yeah, giant
Exactly.
UFC fighter.
But it worked because of Sonic. You know, the Genesis outsold the Super Nintendo in the USA 2-1 in the holiday season in 1991. So
Well, yeah, that
like-
was, it was released 91. So what was it? It was 7 years after the first Mario on console.
Yeah.
We had it was during the Mega Drive or Genesis days, and they released Sonic the Hedgehog, which was I remember watching the ads and thinking, oh, that's freaking awesome! Look how fast it is.
yeah, totally. So let's talk about how fast Sonic is. Yeah.
Especially when he gets hit.
This
Rings
is
go everywhere. Yeah.
this is what happens in Sonic. You're playing Sonic, right? And you know the music's pumping. You're like whatever it is. You know, he's flying along, and then fucking spikes.
Who would put spikes there?
Why would you that right there.
You're flying
that's a
along and
problem.
hit a spring, going
Yeah, and
directly backwards.
Well, what used to frustrate me with the spikes in Sonic 1, they fixed it for Sonic 2 and every other one thereafter, was the fact that sometimes you'd hit the spikes and then you'd like hit it again really quickly and you'd just die instantly. Like you wouldn't have the period of time where you're flashing so that you can get off the dangerous part.
Yeah.
But even though that was in the game, and that every other time you got hit like by a blast from one of those bad guys that never actually hit you, or any other time. But yeah, you'd go in, especially on the first level, and you'd be speeding around, going loop the loop, bang, bang, dead, fuck.
Yeah, exactly. So
It used to happen all the time.
it's a game that's all about speed that punishes you for going fast.
What's it
That's
called?
exactly right. That's a big point here, I think.
The monsters were pointless. The enemies were pointless. The only bad thing in the game that really killed people was going fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the levels weren't designed for going fast. Like you're just talking about the spikes everywhere, and it's like and you can't do anything else other than sort of run a little bit, jump, run a little bit, and then you have to run back a bit and then jump again, and it ruins the flow of the game, doesn't it? Like with Mario, you're constantly going, it makes sense, but with this one, it's just like, oh god, you gotta, you just get interrupted. It becomes frustrating, doesn't it? It's just
Totally, man.
It's Sonic,
Yeah.
man. It's
The only time you use the speed in it is when you're trying to go around the loops.
Yeah.
And like half the time that doesn't fucking work.
Now,
So
come
you
on,
like get halfway up and then you fall down, like you land on your head.
The only
Shit, like-
time I use the speed in the game when I find a really well thought out part where there's like a one step down and there's a spring on either side, and then I do the spin dash into one spring and bounce backwards and forwards. That's when I go really fast.
Exactly.
Did any of you guys play the Master System version at all?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did,
well,
I
this
did.
is the other thing we
Yeah.
should talk about. After the releasing Sonic the Hedgehog on Mega Drive, Sega made the brilliant decision to also release Sonic the Hedgehog 1 on their previous system.
Now this is I've got to say here, because I played it. It took me 3 days to clock it right. 2 days. I clocked it on Boxing Day, but the thing was, and it was known throughout, the Sega world or whatever, that the actual Sonic the Hedgehog was better on the Master System than it was on the Mega Drive. It was actually harder, and the levels were better designed, which is the
Notably
interesting
different
thing,
level
isn't it?
design, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had the
like
Master
you could
System-
actually use that speed.
Yeah, I had the Master System version as well. I remember playing it on my friend's Mega Drive, and this was before it came out on the Master System. And I thought it was awesome. Like on the Mega Drive, it looked really good for the time as well. Like the background moved like at a different speed to the foreground, which blew my mind. But no, when it came out on the Master System, man, I love that game as well.
Yeah, like I remember after I finished it, there was a lot of replayability, and on the first level, I tried completing it fastest, and there was like a downhill ramp and stuff, and there's a way you could do it where you could actually, complete the level within 30 seconds. I think I almost got there or something. I can't really remember now, but because to prepare for this, I've been playing the Mega Drive version, but with the Master System, so that became the challenge, was to, complete the level as quickly as possible, which was possible in the Master System version.
The other thing about the Master System versions, both of Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, that I actually liked as well was the fact that the Chaos Emeralds were actually, rather than having to get them in a special stage, they were hidden somewhere on one of the levels.
What
Like
the fuck is a Chaos Emerald?
It's an Emerald of Chaos.
The Chaos Emeralds, John, were the things that you got on the Mega Drive version after you finished the special stage.
Oh, the weird 3D. I'm doing air quotes that doesn't come through on the podcast. 3D bit. But we're skipping over a really important Sonic the Hedgehog game here, guys. What about the Game Gear one?
Oh my god, there was a Game Gear one?
The
Was
Game
it
Gear
just
one
similar
was
to the
just
Master
the Mega Drive, the Master System one.
Yep,
Okay.
Game Gear. So you got to use your 6 AA batteries and get 4 hours of play.
And speed.
But yeah, but as I was saying, in the Master System version, you had to get the Chaos Emeralds. You had to find them somewhere on the level, and they made it the added bonus on Sonic 2, where to actually complete the game, you had to find all 7 Chaos Emeralds, because otherwise you couldn't actually go on to the last level.
Yeah.
Oh,
I reckon
that's
so.
fucking
Repeat
shit.
levels?
No.
Yeah, I reckon Sonic
There's
2
just
was so
Larry,
much better than
I
Sonic
forgot
1
to get the fuse from the beginning of the game, and I fucking needed it in the end.
That
of
was
the
pretty
game.
much it, though. It forced you to play the game again and again until you worked out where all the emeralds were, and then finally you got to go to the next stage. But I remember Sonic 2 was heaps better than Sonic 1, like for me at the time. You got to fly that hang glider.
Oh, that hang glider used to piss me off.
Yeah, but once you got it, like
Yeah.
it was pretty cool. And the later versions, later levels, there was that level with all the pipes when you had to like spend about 4 hours trying to work out which pipe to go down.
And which
Back in
should you
those
acknowledge?
days, that was
Yeah.
pretty cool. If I try to play that game now, I'd just turn it off in like 10 minutes.
Sonic 2,
Oh.
they introduced the retarded younger brother Luigi. I
Oh,
mean
the
Miles.
fox.
Miles.
The
Oh.
worst
Tails?
character ever made in a
Tails?
video game.
Tails.
Tails, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Luigi.
Yeah.
I mean Tails.
It was miles per hour, aka Tails.
Oh my god.
It's like
Yeah.
the worst character ever made in any video game.
It wasn't a real two-player game. Like Tails could just die,
Yeah.
and Sonic was also 500 times faster than him. I remember playing
Yeah.
Sonic
Yeah.
with Sam, and I'll be Tails, and Sam would just constantly run out of the screen, and I'd die, and then float in, and then Sam would run out of the screen again. Like,
The only time that Tails in Sonic, when you're playing the one-player game in Sonic 2, was any good was during the special stages, because then you could both like run on that little thing the track you were running in, and both go different directions to get more rings. It was easier to get all the finish all the special stages and get the Chaos Emeralds, which of course was only of benefit to Sonic anyway.
I love Tails. He was awesome to play.
Oh no,
Sonic's a
he
good
needs to
character.
die.
It's all about Sonic, isn't it? Yeah.
It was dumb. Like, why put him there? It's the kind of like the I don't know if like Nintendo has borrowed from this awesome idea of having a useless second player with their later games, where they just go like, you can play Mario really well, and the other guy can hold a Wiimote and just whip it backwards and forwards. You get to run around in Mario Galaxy. You know what the other guy can do? Point at the screen and click A on the little gem thingies. Like your Tails. Enjoy.
And then there was the two-player game on the Mega Drive versions of Sonic 2, and Sonic 3 did it as well. And
the
that
races,
was
yeah.
yeah, well, Sonic 3 had just different races. Sonic 2, it was just they picked the special stage and 3 different levels, and you had a whole different lot of things that you were scored on, like how many rings you've got, how fast you completed the level, and I think there was like 5 different things that you were scored on, and then you would do like the 3 levels and the special stage, and then they would say who won, like out of all the different things, like with the different games and stuff. Like
Okay.
Sonic 3 did it a bit better, where it was just they made up completely new levels for it. It didn't flicker annoyingly like the Sonic 2 one did.
Oh my god, you've got 2 players. We can't even handle when you get hit. And
Yeah,
you lose all your
pretty
rings.
much.
Why are you putting 2 players in?
The Sonic 3 one was a bit better, and also the Sonic 3 one had the added bonus of that you could actually do it like just as a sort of like because it was just racing, and you could have the added bonus of if you only had one player and you had no friends that wanted to play Sonic with you, you could just play it by yourself and just like do like time trials and try to beat your records and stuff.
Mm.
You know what that sounds like? That sounds like what's it called? The Simpsons. I lick the envelopes and see how many I can do in an hour, and then try to beat that record in the next hour.
Yeah, pretty much you would play it. Yeah, I'm not with that anymore. But like,
But did it, Sam? Did it actually have like did it actually tell you the high score or anything like that? Because in Sonic 1, you can spend all this time getting points and shit, but it doesn't ever tell you the high score in the game.
yeah,
That's
we've got
true.
it,
Why did
That's
it have
true.
a score?
no,
There's no point to the score.
Yeah, no, Sonic 3 it did well, because also Sonic 3 actually had battery backup, because it did actually have the save game feature and
yeah.
everything. So it would actually save your scores and everything. So when you turn the game off, you wouldn't actually lose it.
Ooh.
Interesting. That's technology that Nintendo invented, 20 years beforehand. But
Something that appeared on the NES finally made it through to the Master System game.
Mega Drive. Master System, I don't think.
Sorry,
had
yep.
battery backup.
The Mega Drive.
It did have.
Master
Master System had some battery backup. Like you can. Oh, actually,
No, it
it
didn't.
had.
No, man.
Oh,
It didn't.
Some
I
of the
don't remember.
cartridges did.
No,
it
no.
had RPGs though.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, some of the RPGs did.
Yeah, Golvelius.
I don't think Golvelius did, man. I thought it.
No, it did. It did. That game was massive.
Buck
I-
Rogers did. That's
I
a really
just
old.
remember us renting so many games and having to beat them overnight.
Yeah,
Because like,
it happened a lot. Yeah.
that's it. Like you can't save or anything. So you rent them for one night and that's it. It's on and we're beating it.
While we're on that, you know what we used to do with Alex Kid when we first got it? We used to pause the game and then leave it on over the week because we weren't allowed to play the Sega over the week. And so we'd pause it on Sunday evening. Mum would turn on the 6 o'clock news. Then 9 a.m. next Saturday, we'd then change the channel and there would be Alex Kid pause. So the Sega would be on for the whole week.
And then you'd die and you'd have to start all over again anyway.
You know, games like that though. Like speaking of Alex Kidd, the games like that. You did them so much because you die and you have to go back to the beginning. You do them so much. The muscle memory remains to this day. When I got Alex Kidd on Virtual Console like 2 years ago, I made it up to the exact same spot I always made it up to in the game.
Yeah, right.
I was like, okay, I hit a point and I'm like, I know what to do here. And it was like, no problem. Yep, if I hit this quickly, I'll get a big bag of gold. Yep, don't hit that one because it's a ghost. Seriously. Those games are awesome because it's muscle memory that remains to this day.
Yeah, right.
I remember the worst moment that I can still remember playing. Was it Wonder Boy on the Master System? I've heard from a friend that if you got through all of the levels, and there was like 9 times 4 levels, I think. If you got through all of them in a certain way, it would unlock 4 bonus levels. And so I committed myself to do that, and I sat down and I played the game, and I played it over like 2 days, pausing it in between. And then I remember I got to the first bonus level, and my mum was like, all right, it's enough for today. So I paused it, came back the next day, and like someone had stamped too hard next to it or some shit. And it was frozen. It was like 2 days work, and I was just like, and I couldn't get over it, but I never did it again because.
So this is the thing, right? Because we used to see Sam's insane skills at Sonic when we were kids, and then I got Sonic on Virtual Console, and Sam came over to our house and beat it in one sitting. No problems, no worries. I was like, I need someone to beat Sonic. No worries, I'll do it. Doo! Okay.
I got a funny story. Like, I knew this kid in high school. He's actually on my Facebook now. But anyway, he didn't. I don't think he ever had many friends over at his house. And so we go over to his house after school one day, and he's got the new Sonic game. We sit down. Oh yeah, the new Sonic game. Cool. And he goes, right. He sits there and he goes, right, I'll clock it for you. And he actually sat there and he just started playing Sonic. And we're sitting there watching him playing Sonic. He goes, I'll clock it. And I said, can we have a go? He goes, no, I'll clock it for you. And we just left after half an hour. Screw this, I'm going home.
Over to his house to play computer games. Select.
It's like the equivalent of someone saying, "I'm rooting for you." It's like, can I have a go? Can I have a go? No, we'll do it for you.
Rooting for you.
That was actually the first time I saw Sonic because that was on the Mega Drive.
That's like so Sonic. This is the thing with Sonic. It's not like Mario, where every game is really different. Sonic is really the same for the first 10
That's
years.
the thing about Sonic. Like Sonic just kept releasing the same game
First-
one after the
Sonic 1 and 2 pretty much could just be the same game with the only thing that Sonic 2 had different was the fact that it had the stupid bloody two-tailed fox. And the fact that you had the awesome addition of being able to press down on the button to do the standing spin.
That's the thing you do in between the two springs.
And the hang glide.
Yeah, the thing that you'd always do between the two springs.
One game that was different was not Sonic the Hedgehog 3, but when that awesome weird thing came out for Sega Master System, it was
Sonic and Knuckles.
another idea. Put a cartridge in your console and then put a cartridge in the cartridge.
Yeah, it's the lock-on technology because cartridges are so fucking stable in your console already anyway. So that's
Well,
So
the
you can
reason
two cartridges in
I'm
there.
sure there was a great technical reason for doing that. It wasn't just a gimmick. Doesn't sound like a gimmick to me.
No, the reason that they did that is because they were originally Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles were supposed to be the same game. And you can actually see that when you're playing, like when I used to play Sonic 3 by itself before Sonic and Knuckles had came out, like you could see like on the first level at one point, there's an area that you just cannot get to. It was absolutely impossible to get to. And the reason for that you could see later on when they did bring out Sonic and Knuckles and you were playing Sonic 3 and Knuckles in the one cartridge, and it was because that was a part that Knuckles went through. And you couldn't use Knuckles until Sonic and Knuckles came out.
According to the Waikai Pedia, they were split due to space and time restraints. Because those cartridges held no fucking data, man.
Yeah.
right.
They were like, 1.5 megabytes or something ridiculously small like
But
that.
why did they waste all that memory saying Sega at the beginning? That would have taken up fucking like half the disk space.
It's a 500 kilobyte WAV file.
Yeah, they didn't have no MP3s back then, man. That's
Full
fucking
HD
like,
Blu-ray format.
This stick that says, look, we've got this awesome fucking game, Sonic and Knuckles, and we need 200k of more space. Can we not have the Sega? Nope. This is Sega, mate.
The same reason why EA Sports had it's in the game.
oh my god.
Exact same reason.
When did EA stop being EA Sports and just become EA?
I don't know.
No, they have two branches, right? EA makes some games and EA Sports makes sports games. Electronic Arts, they have a bunch of games, right?
Yeah, but that's what it's like now. But I just remember there being EA Sports as in the game. And then after a few years of playing so many EA Sports, suddenly it was just EA. It's in the... What? Why did EA Sports?
No, they made non-sports games when the Mega Drive was around. I remember I had Syndicate.
That was EA. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
fully.
Great game.
Was
Syndicate, wasn't that Bullfrog?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Like that was Bullfrog.
Oh, Bullfrog, sorry.
Yeah. They did have other
They
games.
had they had F-22 Interceptor, which was this flight simulator for the Mega Drive. That's not a sports game.
Oh, the Burl. I got it. EA.
Yeah, I think
was
we played
developed-
that.
EA Sports was their developer and Electronic Arts was their publisher.
Oh,
Yeah.
Peter Molyneux was the producer on Syndicate? I didn't know that.
Oh, right. Wow.
He went on to become a fucking terrible designer, by the way. This is like, I'm going to take
He was.
the game, so now you can watch a movie on your console and hold a controller in your hand.
Sounds like Metal Gear Solid.
Sonic and Knuckles was awesome. Knuckles was like Tails was the mistake.
Knuckles was the correction of the mistake.
Like, let's just forget Tails ever existed. We saw Highlander 2 do it.
Did Sonic and Knuckles have tails?
I don't know.
Because I know
Knuckles by itself did.
You know, I could fire
Sonic
up my
3 and
Sega.
Knuckles
Yeah.
tails.
I know, like the Sonic franchise started having just more and more fucking ridiculous looking characters in it. Like as it went on, like it had like Knuckles was like a fucking, what was he? He was a echidna or something,
Yeah.
wasn't he? And then
Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog and
would
Knuckles.
they have like a fucking aardvark or some shit? Like they had like these fucking characters. They had like a girl one, which is like you just don't want to see a girl fucking Sonic the Hedgehog. Like
Was Knuckles like his enemy or something like that?
Like according to a few actually were bothered to look at the storyline, Knuckles in Sonic 3 was tricked by Robotnik or Eggman.
Oh.
It has to be the only villain in history who had his name changed. But
Bowser.
he was he was tricked by
Bowser was
Bowser. We'll just call him Bowser.
way.
But, that's
Hey,
right.
but
I just
but
picked
yeah.
up something. Sorry.
He was tricked into thinking that Sonic was trying to steal like the Chaos Emeralds and the Master Emerald and all of this sort of crap, and so he was
Isn't that
like,
what Sonic is trying to do though?
sort of.
Hey, can I just,
No, he's just collecting them.
Can I just
But Eggman was trying to steal them as well.
Sam, what the hell is the fucking story of Sonic, man? Because like all I saw was like I was just running through the woods or some shit, and then like eventually I get to some like big fat fucking pedophile looking guy with his like cock
Look,
out
He's
swinging all
not
over the screen.
pedophile.
Like,
He's Dr. Ivo Eggman Robotnik.
it's like the biggest fucking pedophile looking guy you've ever seen in a video game. Like he's just
You
got
know-
his big dong hanging out, swinging all over the screen.
I
Like
imagine his name. He like if they had good sounds, and then he would be going, "Hey, I've got something in my pocket for you."
Guys, I just a couple of years ago I bought on the Mega Drive the Sonic collection for my PlayStation 2. Sorry, I call it Mega Drive. It's a PlayStation 2, and I've actually got the storylines for each one here. For each of the games it's on, it's got all the Sonic games on this PlayStation disc. Everything.
There's more than
All
one
right,
storyline.
All the same.
Aren't they all the same? Like,
All right, here
Sonic
we go.
has to
The
get some
storyline
emeralds.
goes as follows: Sonic the Hedgehog.
Get this. Sorry, Sonic the Hedgehog. I'll read it word for word. Dr. Ivo Robotnik, aka Dr. Eggman, the mad scientist, is snatching innocent animals and turning them into evil robots. Help our hero to fight enemies, rescue the helpless animals, and stop Dr. Robotnik from succeeding with his evil plot. What evil plot? Like, it doesn't say what his end goal is.
Evil plot is to kidnap animals and turn them into robots.
But he could have a good
Actually, what?
humanitarian reason for doing that. Like,
The fuck wants to come kidnap me and turn me into a robot? I'm pretty sure robots are more stronger, more powerful than humans. Probably fucking live longer as well. So basically, what you've just established is Dr. Ivo Eggman Robotnik, the pedophile, is trying to help these animals. And
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Sonic is a fucking Chaos Emerald thief.
Some dickhead.
The plotline for number 2, Dr. Robotnik has returned, again bent on world domination, but in the first one, turning animals into robots. he stepped up his goals. He's reaching for the stars. Anyway, join Sonic and his sidekick Miles Tails Prower. So this is where Tails comes in. The Fox, as they stop the demented scientists from discovering the Chaos Emeralds and completing the ultimate weapon, the Death Egg.
Okay, you're gonna.
No. Let's put a stop to it there. We're not going to go on with
So
this.
to take over the world, he thought it would be a good idea to go and turn woodland animals into robots.
and in the third episode,
No,
Sonic
no.
gets into a TIE fighter or tries to destroy the Death Egg.
X-Wing, yeah.
If you've got
X-Wing,
the
I mean.
choice of turning a rabbit into a robot or a lion into a robot, which one do you?
But all Sonic needs to achieve was to make the Death Egg lose its flying ability, because it's in number 3. It's lost its ability to fly, so Sonic has to go get it again.
All Eggman has to do to win is to do everything underwater. Sonic is so fucking shit underwater. Like, he's got no business being underwater. Like, seriously. Like, what the fuck?
prevent his, from his fucking death egg from getting blown up is to surround it in spikes.
Yeah, exactly. Sonic has 2 weaknesses, water and spikes. What did it take 20 games for the guy to figure that out?
It's sort of a bit
That
funny
Knuckles, you
that
kid, no.
Sonic, a hedgehog with spikes on his back, has problems with spikes in the game.
Yeah.
Like,
Figure that
really?
out.
So apparently,
That's true.
apparently Sonic.
You know, we should test this. We should go get a real a real hedgehog and drop it on a big spike and see what happens.
It doesn't work. We'll get a few of them. We'll fling one in water. See how quickly it-
Obviously, he drops all his rings. Like,
No, I got. We'll throw one into water. We'll see how quickly it dies. We'll throw one at spikes. See how quickly it dies. Then we'll put some
But you
gold
gotta
rings.
make sure it's
Just
got
even
rings
one
on.
gold ring will do. Just even one gold ring on each one. Throw that into the water and throw one into spikes and see if they die.
Apparently, the reason that Sonic couldn't swim is because they thought real hedgehogs couldn't swim.
Oh my god.
So they tried to they went for a realistic approach on the
this
game.
was before the internet, so they had no
Yeah.
way of knowing.
Yeah,
I'm just
I've
looking
never seen a
at
real one.
apparently this is something I didn't know. There were several Sonic games for the Genesis that were not 2D platform games. There was
Oh yeah, like pinball games and
this
stuff.
Hedgehog spinball. I could not imagine anything worse than playing pinball on a fucking control pad.
Man.
Well, you do it actually in the Sonic games. Sonic CD has a pinball level, which is really frustrating. And I think it was in one of the other Sonic games, maybe Sonic on the Mega Drive or Sonic 2 on the Mega
Yes, Sonic 1 had the like a stage that was very much like that.
Yeah, and the whole bonus stages were kind of like pinball, like you're just bouncing around basically.
Seriously,
Endlessly.
pinball. The whole idea of pinball is like the two alternating flippers and tilting and shit like that. How does that translate to a controller?
Well, I don't know. I never
Badly,
actually
that's the answer.
played Sonic Spinball.
Well, actually,
but,
I have.
It was
I
actually
actually have.
yeah, because I know it wasn't just like on a like pinball machine. It had actual levels that Sonic was trying to get through. It's just the whole thing is through a pinball machine. I don't know.
Honestly,
Craig's played it, so you'd be better off asking him.
I couldn't imagine anything worse, seriously, than playing a pinball simulator. Pinball is not actually that fun to begin with.
It's called Spinball, so you get it right.
Sorry,
Just look at the back
a
of the package.
spinball simulator on a control
Yeah,
pad,
yeah.
which just has buttons on its face, not even like trigger buttons. So how's it work, Craig?
Oh yeah, I didn't play it on the Mega Drive. I just played it on the PlayStation 2 controller, and I think it was the LR buttons.
Oh,
Yeah.
Using the paddles, and then you hit Sonic. And I haven't played in a couple of years, but
is it?
I didn't really get far in it.
One of the brilliant things about Sonic actually was they really utilized the multiple buttons of the Mega
oh
Drive.
yeah, tell me about it. Like all
Three
three of them.
There was 3 buttons in
All
the
jump,
Drive
speed,
controller, and then they later added 3 more. I remember they later added 3 more for games like Street Fighter. So all 3 buttons did the same thing.
Yeah. It was ingenious. That is the extent of Sega's creativity. Like, not only did they release a controller that has 1 more button than their previous console, they decide that all 3 buttons will do the same thing anyway on their fucking flagship game. Like,
The way it works with just to use Nintendo, you get it. They release a console and there's a bunch of shit games with their new control system that like doesn't utilize it, and then Nintendo releases a game and blows your fucking mind.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like, wow, I didn't know that the Wiimote could do all this stuff. So Sega went, the opposite.
Yeah. We don't want to overcomplicate things.
This is what you
guys,
can
so-
do with the controller, guys. But all do the same thing. You can press 2 of them at a time, and you'll get the same result.
The funny thing is that when it came to Sonic, when they actually started adding things like in the later games, like so that you actually did have different buttons doing different things, it actually made it crap.
Yeah.
See,
Wait,
You mean crap?
yeah.
Too complicated for
Let's
Sega.
talk about that. Let's talk about that for a second, because Sonic is a really really simplistic game. Basically, like, I think we all realize that. And do you guys think maybe that's why it didn't really progress very far? Like
Well,
every iteration of Sonic after a certain point just became the same game, but with some kind of weird gimmick attached to it. Like you were turning into werewolves at one point, and like it just got fucking bizarre later on.
at its core, it's just a game of jumping, really, like jumping and collecting shit. So
Yeah.
as we're saying with the buttons, like there's only 1 button. There's only one thing that Sonic actually does, and that's like jump and spin. And like he also runs, and so
Well, that's 3 things.
well, that's 3 things. But it's
Yeah,
not,
it's the same.
it doesn't lead to much game variety.
Yeah.
So you can pretty much do different level design. You can add things, but at its core, like if you played one, you played them all.
Actually, I'm thinking about it now. Sonic was we talked last time about how even today platform games haven't changed fundamentally. You're still jumping on top of enemies' heads. You're still putting on suits and shit like that. They're all still Mario, and Sonic wasn't. Sonic can beat the fuck out of people. You didn't have to jump on their head. You just had to jump.
Yeah.
Just land on them.
It
Yeah.
was
The other thing is that like with the newer Sonic games, like as they progressed, like I remember playing Sonic Adventure 1 on the Dreamcast.
fuck is that?
Hold on, I'll just see if it's in my little book here.
It's a 3D
Scroll down
Sonic.
the
Yeah, it's one of the
it's
3D ones, and like that was actually like it actually had sort of like almost a like an RPG adventure sort of feel to it, where you actually had to go to a certain area, you had to collect a certain thing, and then bring it back to another area, and like it was still at its core was still pretty much the same, just in 3D. Like like running through and jumping and everything. And the only thing that they added, I think it was added at that point, was like when it was the like when you jump and you could focus on an enemy and like do the auto aim sort of thing.
Yeah, it had like a auto
I know why.
Yeah,
The reason I don't know what this is because unfortunately I mustn't have known one of the 7 people who bought a Dreamcast.
Yeah, so the funny thing is, I lived with Sam at the time, and we used to play that game all the time, but I cannot remember a single thing about it. Like, I can't remember a single screen.
Why did you have a Dreamcast?
Sam had a Dreamcast. He was
Did
the only
you?
person in Australia
What
with
the
a
hell,
Dreamcast.
man? Holy crap,
I've still
mind
got
blowing.
it somewhere.
Where is it?
I used to rent one out.
I've probably still got it somewhere. It doesn't work. It's like completely fucked. But
Oh, damn it. You know, I never played one. I never played a Dreamcast.
Look one up.
I know it had that thing in the controller with the you know, on the controller had the screen on it or something, yeah?
Yeah, you could take it. They called it a visual memory unit, and you could actually take it out. And like they actually were going to, they never got the chance because, of course, they never advertised it, so nobody ever bought one. But they were going to actually do stuff so that you could have little games on it. The only one that actually had one was Sonic Adventure, and that was basically it had a Tamagotchi attached to it.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Innovative.
But they were actually going to. But the thing was, is that having said that, like you would look after your little Cheo, they called them. But then when you went in the game, like how the Cheo was in when you'd been looking after him in your visual memory unit, when you went to actually look at them in the game, it actually like how you would. It was in the visual memory unit when you'd take it around with you and like look after it outside of the game, and how it actually was in game actually did affect it.
That's the
Not
kind
very
of cool
much,
thing
mind,
that you know Nintendo is bringing in now with the 3DS and the Wii U being pretty much as powerful as each other. Way to go, Nintendo! They're releasing games that port across to both, so you can import your save game and stuff. Whatever you do on your 3DS affects you. But I guess the world wasn't ready for it. I'm just reading through this this Wikipedia page, and I'm finding like this constant mention of Sonic and systems that failed.
Yeah, right.
That's what.
Let's see if
You
I
know
can
what
name
else
them
Sonic
from
was on?
memory.
You know what else Sonic was on? The Nokia N-Gage.
Hey, I had one of those.
Oh, God.
Ah, so
You can
they
buy-
did
you
sell
can buy-
one.
Yeah, I bought it second hand though. It
You
was
can buy
cheap.
Sonic on the Wii now, can't you? Isn't there Sonic games on
Well,
the Wii?
this is
Or
what
the
we're up
3
to now.
3DS?
In the world now today, Sega has decided. Well, they made a good business decision for once to stop making
that was-
consoles. I think it had something to do with the fact they had no money. and just
We
make
haven't solved
quality
our last
games.
week on solved.
Quality games now. They make
So,
quality games on Nintendo systems.
I think the thing about Sonic though is like he never really was able to make the jump from 2D to 3D. And I think that's why he kind of didn't sit well with anything beyond the Mega Drive.
Like, it's interesting playing some of those 3D games because I've played, like, not only Sonic Adventure, but I have played the Sonic Unleashed, which is the one that you mentioned that he turns into a werewolf, and Sonic Chaos I've played a little bit of, which was the one that was released after that. And then, of course, I got for the PS3, I got Sonic Generations, which is a really interesting game because it combines both like the 2D and the 3D sort of elements and goes through the history of the game. And like the whole like the Sonic Unleashed was interesting because it did actually change the game completely. You're either fast like traditional Sonic or you were this like sort of werewolf that was sort of just bash the crap out of stuff. Like depending on whether it was a day stage or a night stage. Like, and they did try, but it's not anywhere near as playable and as just like plain fun as like the original like Sonic games.
I think we we're talking about that last episode as well. Like, I think platformers, the good thing about the gameplay is that it works so well in 2D. Like, 2D just has that, okay, it's two-dimensional, simple gameplay, easy. You can make it challenging, but the gameplay is pretty straightforward. You put it into 3D and it kind of takes away from that. It's a bit more clunky and it's not as fun. So I think that's probably something that all platformers really suffer from. It's hard to find a good platformer that's in 3D.
It takes an extremely good developer to convert a 2D platformer into a 3D platformer.
You know what I noticed years and years later after I stopped playing Sega, had a good PC. I bought Call of Duty 2. All right, you remember the ones, the Second World War, and
wow.
I noticed, this is going back 8 years ago. What I noticed was it's basically the same as a platformer, except it's in 3D. Like you got your level goals. Oh, you must blow up the anti-aircraft guns on the top of the dam or something like that. And it's basically the same thing, except it's 3D and you're just using a machine gun to shoot Germans rather than a little ball spinning at something. So. The platformers are like they've been updated, They're just the same concepts have just been added to these ultraviolet 3D shooters.
Well, the one thing that I think that really lets down with one of the best things about the classic Sonic games was the fact that one of the best things about them was the fact that you could keep going back and exploring the levels, like to actually learn where every single thing was on any one of those levels in Sonic 1, Sonic 2, or Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, like the first 4 of them. It took you ages, so you could keep going back to it. You might finish it the day you get it, but you could keep going back because you've got to go back and try and finish it with all defeating all the chaos, getting all the chaos emeralds and turning into Super Sonic. You've got to find see if you can get the ring bonus. You've got to find where all the extra lives are. You've got to find you had so much that you could actually do on the game, but when you actually get to the 3D ones, it's pretty much. You've got this path, and you might have another path that you can explore, but pretty much that will
There's
take
no
you
point.
to 100 meters down the track. And
that's really interesting because you compare, you got to compare Sonic to Mario. That's what the whole point of Sonic was, Mario.
Yeah.
You have Sonic trying to push this replayability thing, but what Mario pushed was trying to skip the game. In the beginning, you didn't replay Mario to try and collect everything. You replayed Mario to
get there quicker.
Yeah, to get to the end quicker. Try and beat Mario 3 in 11 minutes. But then later on, Mario became the game. You play the levels 50 times over and over and over again, trying to get 6 stars from each level, and then all of the 100 coins from each level, and every red coin from each level, and every blue coin from each level. So it's something that Mario maybe borrowed from Sonic a little bit.
They seem to have. It's like they almost did it the opposite way around, because the 3D. Admittedly, I haven't played much of the 3D Marios, but when I've seen them, they tend to be a lot more explorable, and they've got a lot more in them than the old classic 2D Marios, which is pretty much just you keep going from the left side of the screen to the right and jumping, and if you go basically across the screen and then you get to the end. Whereas with Sonic, well, sure, you'd still be going the same direction, but you could go first of all you could jump down and go right down the bottom, or you could try and jump and go right up the top or through the middle, and look, if you go through this wall, there's an extra life, or there's an invincibility, or what have you. And it actually had so much that you could explore. Even in the earlier levels, there was just so much that you could explore. Even in Sonic 2, one of the biggest levels that they had, or the biggest level they had in Sonic 2, was the Metropolis stage, which was right towards the end. And it was the only one that had 3 acts in the one stage. And that thing is so massive that it's probably one of the few levels on Sonic 2, which is the game that I played the most, that I could not find my way around. I just basically kept going in one direction and hoping for the best. Because it was so big, compared to all the other levels. But then you get to Sonic, Sonic Unleashed, and you just keep going forward, and you might have to jump across here or what have you, but that's pretty much all you're doing.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been playing Sonic CD. When we had the idea to do this podcast, just to kind of reacquaint myself with it. I remember when I was younger playing Sonic 1 and 2 as well, the replayability was huge. You'd spend hours, you'd go back, redo levels, look for everything, try to find out quicker ways, more efficient ways to get to the end of the level and hit all your special stages and whatever. Coming back and playing a Sonic game, I just have no desire to do that though, and I think part of it is that, like, okay, so that replayability, that explorability has been done so much better. Like when you compare with a more modern game, like GTA San Andreas, like talk about explorability and replayability and finding stuff that you hadn't seen before.
You know they're up to Grand Theft Auto 4 right now, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about a slightly older game.
Almost 5.
Yeah, no, they're up to 5, like released this year. But a GTA game or even not something that big, but that ability to kind of explore in depth and find things has come so far that you really don't really care that much about, I could spend hours finding some more rings, but it's really the same thing I've already found, but I'm finding it again.
Well, I find like actually there's two very different types of exploration things. Like you have something like Grand Theft Auto series where you don't really only play through once, then you explore, and then eventually you finish it. And even like Bethesda games are like that. You really only play through once and you just explore. And like you have something like Fallout 3 that, when it first came out, had a really low level cap, and so when you play, like a huge amount of people would explore for like hours and hours and hours and put like 100 hours into it, hit the level cap, and then finish the game because there's no point in exploring anymore. But then there's other games where replayability is the key to exploration. Rather than playing it through once and exploring as much as you can, you play it through twice, play it through 3 times. Like something like Gears of War that I have beat, something like 11 times. I'm still trying to find the last couple of cogs in Gears of War. You think Sonic was kind of pushing that kind of replayability, where you go back through the game and replay it, rather than walking around the levels bit by bit and spending an hour on a level?
Yeah, it definitely was more that, because one of the things that was one of the biggest things that people hated about Sonic at the time that the classic games were coming out was the fact that it was a very easy game. Like, it's not really like you could make it too much, like make it any harder without it being sort of like frustratingly hard.
It's pretty frustrating now, Sam. Keep in mind you are Sam. Okay. Always remember, the game is fucking frustrating.
But a lot of people did hate the fact that it was so easy. So, like,
well, here's my experience playing Sonic CD. Right, 99% of the game, like, I took the approach pretty early. I'm just gonna start at the left, like move to the right of the screen, get to the end of the stage. That's it. That works for like 99% of the levels. Then 1% are just ridiculously hard. Like, for no reason, it switches from like first gear to like 7th gear.
And that is exactly how the first Sonic is as well. It's like, once you get into the groove of things, you work out how the game works. It's you can just breeze through the game until you get to the last world or whatever you call it, and then it's just fucking ridiculous. Like,
they'll probably I probably spent like 3 hours on these 2 levels that I got stuck on, but then I probably spent an hour on the rest of the game, like, combined.
Talking about replayability, at the time, I found the game a joy to play. This is a 14-year-old Craig, though, and I just that's why I replayed it, because I just found it a joy to play, and probably because I didn't have any other better games. But no, seriously, I just found it a joy, and basically all I tried to do was just get a bit better score.
Yeah, I was the same back in the day. I was the same back in the day, but I think just
maybe it's just hindsight now. I
think Sonic actually may have done that quite well, because I can tell you now, like going back to Sega's other Alex the Kid, I played that game fucking a billion times, right? I don't think I ever beat the damn game, right? But I know if I had have beat that, I would never have played it again.
Well, Sonic actually had like all these different paths and stuff like that. Alex Kidd was pretty linear though,
It had this Alex Kidd, because I played that a shitload as well. I got to the stage where I would I know it so well, I would challenge myself to get through the whole game as quick as possible without losing a life. Well, and I think I did like 43 minutes. But there was one secret in that whole game where you punch this octopus's tentacles and you take like a shortcut, but that was the only different way you could do anything in that whole game.
This is something that like, even Mario didn't have. They had the pipes to go down to skip sections of the level. But that wasn't exploring the level.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mario is like, no matter how many different paths they give you, it's still so linear. But Sonic doesn't feel like that, and that's what I give a lot of credit for.
You can run through Sonic, the way I play Sonic, and obviously I'm not very good at that either, because 2D platformers are not my go. I just push forward. Well, first later Sonic, I just hold down and then tap A a couple of times, and then let go, and then just keep tapping A.
Keep jumping.
And then if I get to the end of the level, I get to the end of the level. If I don't, within about 40 seconds, I turn the fucking console off. Well, no, this Sonic
Well, I
shit.
remember, like talking about like games that are very linear. Like I remember when the game Earthworm Jim came out. Do you remember that, John?
Yeah,
we were
man.
playing.
We used to play that.
Played it, and we went through. It took us like it didn't take us all that long to finish the game, but once we finished it, there was absolutely no desire ever to play that game again because you would just be doing the exact same thing. Like, I never felt that with like games like, I think the really good platform games like Sonic and Mario and stuff like that, you actually don't, even if you're doing the same thing that you did before, you don't mind actually going back and playing them.
But yeah, there are.
Even to these days, I will still enjoy playing Sonic, just as I will still enjoy playing.
Dude, seriously,
just as I'll still enjoy playing Mario.
You come to my house and play Sonic 1 and 2. It's fucking weird. Actually, you know what we should do? We should do a live podcast of Sam playing fucking Sonic.
Oh, totally.
Seriously, because it's fucking weird. It's like watching Batman: The Dark Knight Rises with director's commentary on. It's fucking intense and it's mind blowing.
Yeah, talking about replayability, a friend of mine who I used to go, we used to rent out systems all the time, like your Dreamcasts and all that sort of garbage. And anyway, one day we were over at his place. We used to rent game systems and talking about replayability on Sonic, and he had Sonic, and we remember the Game Genie.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, for those listening who don't know what a Game Genie is, it's a cartridge you stuck in your system, and then you put the game cartridge in it, and it lets you do cheat codes. All these wonderful cheat codes.
They're
like
called
heaps
action
and heaps.
replays now. You can get action replays.
Action Replay is actually a different one, but they took over.
That was a
Game
different
Genie.
brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a different brand. I had them both.
Yeah.
You can get action replays now, though. Like, is what I mean. Like little.
Oh right.
You know, my 10-year-old has action replay for
All right.
Pokemon White.
Oh, okay.
Dirty, rotten, fucking cheap.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
At the time, so we got Sonic the Hedgehog, we'd both beaten it, whatever, blah, 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 and we go, okay, so we put the cheat code in, all right, 1 ring equals 80. So,
It's a slide
you can see where this is going. So the game starts, we jump, get 3 rings, da 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 da. You know the music. If you get a life, suddenly we've got 5 lives or whatever. And so it turned the game into this ridiculous thing where we could not possibly die, no matter how hard we tried. As soon as you hit a couple of rings, bang, you get another life. And so we just could not die. And we went through the entire game, and it got to the point where our score was so high. Right. We did something else where you got more points as well, but the lives, because we had so many lives by the end of the game that it stopped using numbers and it had symbols.
Hieroglyphics.
Got to like
Awesome.
hexadecimal numbers or something.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
Well, actually, that's actually another point with the Sonic games. Like, was actually the cheat codes that you could put in when they actually released them. Like, everybody, of course, always look for the level select with like all those games like at that stage, so that they could just go and choose whatever level they want. But there was also the debug mode, which was always my favorite, where you could just put random things through the level.
Yeah, and it made things bizarre. It kind of broke the
I
game.
just think it made it more just like Sonic.
As a bit of trivia, though, the level code in level select code in Sonic 2 was Yuzo Naka's birthday. So if you put on the sound select screen, if you go to you put his birthday,
1965-9/17.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Gee, see,
Well, how do you
Mr.
remember
Sonic,
that?
Mr. Sonic, dude.
The
Honestly,
debug code,
talking about that muscle memory shit, Sam the motherfucker knows everything about Sonic. It's weird. It's intense to watch. I watched him beat Sonic 1 or whatever the fuck it was, and it was director's commentary 2. Director's commentary all the way. Now, see, what people think is, if you run through the level as quickly as possible on this level, you'll get the most points. But if you jump down here and get this, and then gather this, and gain this, you'll actually gain more points by the end, and you'll have done it a little bit faster. What the fuck are you even talking about, Sam?
I've got a question for Sam on that point. Was it actually for your points? Were you better off going around collecting everything, or was the point reward for completing the level the quickest more than actually collecting everything on the level?
It's funny you mentioned that, because when I first got Sonic 2, and there was the girl that used to live next door, and we were having an argument on that point, because there was, I never entered it, but there was actually a Sega video game contest down in Bondi Junction at the time, where they were playing Sonic 2, and she was
And the wizards wouldn't go.
She was arguing that if you ran through as quickly as possible through the level, because it was basically you played for 10 minutes and the highest score would win the comp, that you would get the more points. Where I said, no, you spend the time, you stay on the one level, spend the time, and then just go around and collect as much as you possibly can and go through. And that definitely, within 2 minutes of playing and going around and hitting every enemy, collecting every ring, doing as much as I could possibly do, I had amassed 3 times the amount of points that she did.
It's weird, man. I'm telling you guys, it's weird to watch him play. It's weird.
That's contradictory. That's contradictory. He wants to run fast, but then...
No. It's not contradictory, Craig, when you think about it, about how badly you get punished for running fast.
Yeah.
It's the Sega trick. Hey, guys, this is the fastest game ever made, except when you get hit and you lose all your rings, and the game slows down to the slowest fucking game ever made.
And he's not even a plumber.
So see what you can do. But it's weird, actually, because, Mario appears in so many franchises. And you have things like Mario Kart and Mario Party and Mario God knows what. Mario teaches you how to have sex and root.
Tell me more about this game.
Mario.
Okay.
There's weird games on the Wii. See, Sonic actually has these kind of games as well. And there's little known, like Sonic Shuffle is the Mario Party game. And I'm just thinking, I didn't even know this thing.
But actually, I do quite like the Sonic racing game, because I think that Sonic, because the premise of it is all about going really fast, even though that doesn't translate into the game. The racing game is just constantly keeping you moving anyway. So, Sega tends to make really good fast racing games, I think, and
well, the Sega Kart, the Sega version answer to Mario Kart is, if you don't have Mario Kart's better, but if you don't have I'm talking about the first Sega one, I haven't played the second one, but if you don't have a Nintendo machine, then that's the best thing to choose if you want a Mario Kart clone. No other Mario Kart clone comes close to the Sega one as being nearly as good as the actual proper Mario Kart. But of course, if you want to play Mario Kart, get a fucking Nintendo and play Mario Kart. Actually, does it as good as Nintendo.
There's a bunch of Mario Karts, actually. There's more bad Mario Karts than there are good ones.
Yeah. But actually, in a lot of ways, I like the Sega one better than Mario Kart, because Mario Kart is great and all, but it's so slow.
Well, that's what I mean. There's more bad Mario Karts. There's more bad Mario Karts than there are good ones. I don't care what anyone says. The N64 Mario Kart is fucking shit. Fucking terrible.
I like that one.
It's got 8 fucking characters and fucking 12 or 16 tracks.
No, I'll tell you what's so good about that game, man. What's so good about that game is it was the first console and the first game, or that I played anyway, that had 4 people in a room with split screen. It was that kind of party game atmosphere.
It was a punch-on game where you fucking get hit by a blue shell.
Yeah, but before then it was
or
2
fucking
players
lightning bolt, and you turn around and punch the other person. Yeah, I know that game.
You could just jump in with a group of friends and play it and have fun.
Nah, man, it's shit. It was so limited. It's so boring. It's most of the tracks were terrible, and so no one would play any of the tracks. And so actually all you would do is play 5 tracks over and over and over again. And actually the Super Nintendo Mario Kart, that also was the bodge. It was time. It's shit today. Mario Kart only got good around the Double Dash, which was too fucking mind-blowingly different for people who like that Mario 64 bullshit. The Wii Mario Kart is phenomenal, but prior to that, man, actually, the Mario Kart is not very good. It's just the best there is for people who don't like to play serious, realistic racing games. I don't want to play no fucking Gran Turismo or Forza. Just 'cause
It's not a realistic game though. It's not. It's just made for a bunch of people to just jump in and have fun. Like, and I think it did it well because games weren't really doing it at that stage. So.
I don't want to play fucking Gran Turismo or whatever the other one, Sega Rally or whatever the fuck, because
Need for speed.
it's realistic.
Forza?
It's just like driving a real car, bro. Yep, because I can win at Forza. I can drive on the streets.
It's like driving a real car with a tiny controller that has no feedback whatsoever and is completely unrealistic. But apart from that, exactly like driving a car.
Didn't care about that realism thing, and they were the best of that kind of genre, but they're not very good, man. They weren't good at the time, and they're not good today. And you know,
I disagree. They were good at the time.
disagree,
We had a
man.
lot of fun playing those games.
And
Like,
I-
when me and my mates used to get together.
The secret is you had to take some drugs as well. Like, you had to.
Oh, okay. That explains everything.
yeah, it does. Man, like,
And you had to know how to jump over the thing on that Wario level.
so Yoshi's fucking maze, man. You can jump the wall on that as well. You can jump the pit on that in Yoshi's Cavern or whatever. You don't have.
And you had the different bloody routes that you could take.
It was the perfect one, and there was also a gap you could jump if you spun or if you drifted backwards. It was a unique skill that very few people.
Oh, I remember that. Jeff, I think, did it once.
I used to be able to do it. Like, this is the thing. People like Jeff and me and stuff used to do it every time. And if you didn't do it, you couldn't win. And that's why the game was fucking stupid, because it had bits where you could skip the track. And if you couldn't do it perfectly 100% of the time, you just can't win. The game's shit.
Yeah, because I was hopeless at trying to jump the wall on the Wario circuit and stuff. I did it, but not very often.
It's a bodge. And actually, I used to like playing Mario 64 when one person would be like, they would go all the way around that Wario track. Everyone would be finished.
This whole
Something's happened to
discussion
Brian.
reminds me very much of.
Okay.
Go for it, Brian. Go for it.
We're all
Go for
here
it.
with
You're back. Go.
You're in.
Just waiting for you.
You sound
Sam
like
to-
a mobile phone. Go.
Keep going, man. Just keep talking.
We've got a special guest. Brian's calling.
From Sweden, Brian.
The whole discussion reminds me of
What?
The whole discussion reminds me of the kind of discussions that used to go on back in the day with the Sega fans.
Oh, he's flashing on the Skype screen, but
We've got a technical issue here with Brian.
don't worry. We don't.
I think Brian needs to call back to the group.
We'll bring him back in.
All right, who do we have here?
There we go. Okay, cool.
Ben's in this one.
No. He's just in the group.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right. Yeah, it says no answer.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just shout everyone off. Craig,
Yo.
Sam,
Yep.
Ed.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I was listening to something else. I was just trying to
Brian?
see.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. All right, we're gonna start again. What we were at was Brian was trying to say something. Okay, and go.
And
So we got Brian calling in from Sweden.
Yeah.
So all this talk, this conversation you guys are having reminds me of the old rivalry that people used to have between Sega and Nintendo back in these days. All this, back and forth about whether Sonic is the best or Sega is the best or Mario is the best or whatever. And it kind of makes me wonder, consoles today are largely pretty similar, except for Nintendo is off in its own world, and it almost feels like that the whole console war thing has kind of lost its soul.
I think like they are pretty similar, but I think kids though.
I love it. Craig.
Kids still act like they're completely different. Kids
Yeah,
still
well-
act like their console is the best. It's still the same that kind of mentality. Like
This is the thing with
Xbox is better.
The current console war is solely about justifying your purchase.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
before they were the same price, you know. They were.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, $130 or whatever was expensive. And when I was young, and I used to go to the movies for 2 bits and buy a meat pie and a pack of chips as well.
It's the equivalent of 500 or 600 now. So.
But the thing was, like, you wouldn't have people have 2 consoles.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you quiet you, Sonic.
But you had 2 Segas though, right? You had 2 Mega Drives.
He was collecting them.
Like,
We had 2. They were Master System and the upgraded model of the Mega Drive. Yeah.
No, at one stage I did
No,
have
I mean,
a Mega Drive and a Super NES.
like that was a rarity back in the day to have 2 of the same generation.
Yeah.
But today it's like common, and the people that argue most about the fanboys today are the ones that only have one.
Yeah, right.
Because they've had to make that, because it's always kids now.
Yeah.
I don't know, like back in the olden days, with Super Nintendo and Nintendo and stuff, of course I was a kid, so I don't really know, can't really tell the difference between now and then from an adult's point of view. But today, I know, like from reading forums and stuff like that, it's kids who can't buy their own consoles, and they have to make a decision on one.
Yeah.
Their parents are buying it for them, are just justifying their choice. It's like, Xbox is best because that's the one I picked.
I think also as you grow up, you get a bit more rational, and like you don't kind of put all your eggs in one basket. It's like, this is the best thing ever, and that's the shittest thing ever. Like you go, I've got an Xbox. Like I know it's pretty good, but there's a few things that maybe the PlayStation has over me, but I don't care because I'm happy. But kids don't have that attitude. They're like, all or nothing.
Well, another thing that seems to be with the console was like then and now is that whereas before it was all about what games you could get, because the Mega Drive had different games from what the Super Nintendo had.
Games, yeah, they did.
Whereas now you can get pretty much everything like on both PS3 and Xbox 360 with only the with the exception of like a few games, like you can only get Halo on like Xbox and so on and so forth. But it tends to be more because like, oh, I want a PS3 because I want a Blu-ray player. Well, I want an Xbox 360 because they've got like a better Xbox Live thing or whatever.
On my internet.
Yeah, you know why I think that is because when we were playing Sonic the Hedgehog and Super Mario on our Mega Drives and Super NESs and whatever, owning a console was a bit of a nerdy thing to do and it wasn't commonplace. And now they're just everywhere, you know, everyone's got one now. It doesn't matter who you are. You can be the coolest guy on the block or you can be the biggest nerd. It doesn't matter. You have one.
I don't have one.
I think
true.
also
really true, Craig.
Like back in the day, it was Sega making the majority of the games for the Mega Drive and Nintendo making the majority of the games for the Super NES.
Publishing anyway, at least publishing.
Yeah.
Like at least publishing the games. Whereas now, like Sony, like it's not as if like Sony are making games.
Yeah, even when they make exclusives, it's very rare for the console team, the console brand to make a game. Like you have things like I'm trying to Gears of War used to be the Xbox 360 flagship killer app. When Xbox 360 first came out, it was Gears of War. That was made by Epic Games, which had an exclusivity contract with Microsoft. So Microsoft publishers and Epic Games made it. And then you had like Uncharted, which was made by Naughty Dog and published by Sony. Nintendo has always been a little bit different. And the best games, the most successful games on Wii, and the only company that had 100% success rate with development on Wii was Nintendo Tokyo.
Yeah, right.
Every single one of their games was a profitable game, and that's actually made by Nintendo.
I think it was easier for Nintendo to do it up until this generation because the power of the console was so far behind the competition that it just takes a much smaller team. And now you see Nintendo realizing, oh, we can't really, make all their games ourselves now, so we have to start having partnerships. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's another thing about the console wars is that in the olden days, like Craig was just saying, you buy the computer magazines.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We'll buy the magazines, and it's not like if you wrote into a Sega magazine with an abusive anti-Sega letter, they were going to publish it.
Yeah, that's true.
It was
They
harder
forced-
to have a real like abusive, insult throwing ridiculousness that happens now on the internet, because there was so much the magazines chose what they published, whereas now they just have the comment section. Don't
that's
swear.
true.
And what I was talking about before was the artwork, because you'd see this violent artwork being submitted to each magazine. Like the Nintendo one's Mario stabbing Sonic, and then in the Sega one's Sonic destroying Mario with a machine gun or something like that. It was absolutely bizarre. And
I used to like some of those.
Do you guys think that like a lot of it also had to do with the fact that you weren't just buying into Nintendo, you were buying into Mario, and you weren't just buying into Sega, you were kind of choosing Sonic? Do you think the fact that mascots no longer have as much importance as they used to kind of has changed?
Yeah, there are
the way
no
things-
mascots anymore. I tried to, you have Master Chef,
Yeah.
Manu in his Spartan suit for Xbox. But even then, Halo isn't really or Master Chef isn't the Xbox mascot.
Yeah, he's not the poster child of.
And I bought a PlayStation for Metal Gear Solid 4, but it's not like my Solid Snake is the PlayStation.
Yeah, you're not taking like Solid Snake Blow Up Doll to bed with you or anything like that.
Yeah, well, I do grip Solid Snake quite often while I'm sleeping.
My experience back when we got our Segas, we actually didn't have a choice. Mum and Dad bought us the Sega without us asking, so they just went and bought whatever. Nintendo, Sega, they just chose the Sega.
Oh, they
think,
got one with all the
Sega's-
violence right in it, yeah.
I remember the Sega
Okay.
Master System was pretty cheap at one time as well.
Yeah, it was $129 as a.
Yeah, I think we bought the Master System for $99, which is pretty good back in that day.
Yeah, it was real cheap, eh?
You could buy G.I. Joe helicopters for $99.
Yeah, that's right, eh? Then they break.
Like they only Nintendo still has that Mario.
Yeah, the mascot kind of.
And even actually, when you look at it, it's funny with the console war today. You have Xbox fanboys, lauding the Xbox and going on and on about how much better the Xbox is for whatever reason. It's awesome because I have to pay $80 per year to play games online with my Xbox. That's just the best thing about Xbox. Oh, you have the PlayStation kids going on and on about how amazing PlayStation is. And the best thing about PlayStation is that the cross-console games are always $20 more expensive.
Yeah.
Because they're on Blu-ray. But then the Nintendo guys are just the Ginger kid in the corner. Everyone's just kicking the shit out of him.
Yeah, exactly.
You have this fucking war going on a forum where Xbox is the best, and I'm going to pwn you in COD. But you can't play COD because we can't do cross-platform. And then PlayStation is the best because it's awesome. And then the Nintendo guy goes, I really like my Nintendo. And everyone goes, fuck off.
Yeah.
You play a kid's game. Like, the console war has changed so dramatically. And
But
it's
then
not,
you've got stuff with with Nintendo. The thing that say the Wii against the other two came out was during your party, like when you've got a party and you've got a mass of people around. They had such good fun party games. Whether it's like Mario Kart, Mario Party, to name just two off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think Wii's a bit more socially acceptable. Like, if you've got people around to fire up the Wii rather than to fire up the PlayStation, and
or the Xbox.
it might do better. It might be easier to convince your girlfriend/wife to buy a Wii than it would be to buy a PlayStation.
Yeah,
So,
right.
there's
From experience, Ed, or
no. Well, I don't have either. So but it's,
No, it doesn't. It doesn't buy anything.
No, I play PC games. So
that's right, you're a pirate.
They're all baby toys to Ed anyway.
Exactly. I don't even play games, man. I fucking hate games.
Brilliant. Me too. Fucking games. Fucking games are now actually the most dominant people in the console war are the Apple iPhone users.
That's true. That is very true. It's a changing industry.
They're fucking winning the war, and they're not even the kind of guys who get on the forums and talk about how awesome the iPhone is.
Yeah. But
They
their
just-
their games are still absolute fucking garbage, man.
Yeah. Well, Sonic is on the
Angry Birds is not a game; it's a
I've
tech.
been playing this Sonic CD on iPad. That's how I've been playing it. Like,
Mate,
it's
Angry
great.
Birds is a fucking tap and drag simulator.
How's those lack of buttons doing for you, Ed? Man? Like seriously.
Yeah, you mean that lack of that one button to jump?
It's tap anywhere on the screen, man.
Exactly. It's
Don't need
tap
precision to
anywhere
play
on the
Sonic.
screen to jump, so it's
You're
fine.
lucky you don't need precision to play Sonic, man. You couldn't play Mario on a pad, like.
No, you know what? Like I've been playing GTA 3 and
Yeah, right.
and Vice City. They've both been ported onto iPad, and they're pretty good. Like the controls aren't too bad. There are some missions where the controls like turn out to be pretty shit, but the rest of the time they're actually alright.
You know, Chinatown Wars. I remember when it like Chinatown Wars is the best Grand Theft Auto. You know, in my opinion.
I never played it.
It's the fucking bomb. I played it on DS. It's so good, man.
I'll get it.
They actually utilize the DS control system and everything really well. It's really really good.
Yeah.
And I've also played a demo of it on Vita and on iPhone, and it's phenomenal on iPhone. It's out of all three of the ones that I've played. I can't remember if it's Vita or PSP, whatever the fuck is on. The iPhone one is the best one.
Yeah, I'll get it because I've been kind of thinking about it. It's one of those things where you're like, should I pay the $5 or how much it costs?
When it first announced that it was getting released on the iPhone, man, and the games, again, air quotes, games, fucking tapping simulators and shit like that. And they even had like really unique names like Tap Tap Revenge.
Yeah.
But
Tap,
when
tap,
it was announced,
tap,
they announced it at like a $20 price tag.
Yeah.
And it was going to be like the big call to developers. Like if these guys can get away with charging $20 for an iPhone app, then we'll fully move on to the iPhone and we'll also sell apps for $20. And now you look at it, it's like $4.
Yeah.
They didn't get
But it's different though. Like it's $4 with a bunch of users having instant access to just click on it and have it on their, to click on it, instantly buy it and have it, as opposed to like hardcore gamers spending $100 or however much that is. I mean, I don't know what the economy is, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good value, but I don't know.
You're never gonna get really the hardcore gamers converting to iPhone and playing.
No, but it's not about hardcore.
You don't really want the hardcore gamers when you're talking about like phone games and stuff like that. You want the people that are just going to buy them like just off the spur of the moment, because that's where you're going to make your money.
And game developers don't care who's buying it if they're getting the same revenue. Like, who gives a shit?
Exactly.
Maybe it'll come back to what I think Craig mentioned, that the console will go back to being for the super nerd, and everyone else will just jump over to the accessible platform.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably inevitable.
Yeah. Let's just hope they don't get rid of consoles altogether. Otherwise,
when I was in the,
we can't podcast anymore.
I kind of think, like, it's hard to predict the future, but I kind of think that, PCs, consoles, more or less the same thing. They'll kind of converge to some extent.
Ed,
well, unless sort of already have.
Yeah, exactly.
Ed. I don't. I'm sorry to be the one to break it to you. You're the only person who plays games on PC.
Yeah, he's right.
11 million Steam users will.
I'm with you, Ed. I'm with you, Ed.
11 million Steam users all downloaded
the other day.
I'll tell you the best thing about playing games on PC, and it's probably the only good thing about playing games on PC, and it's that playing FPSs and being able to control them with a mouse. Because fucking controller is so shit for FPS.
11 million Steam users.
I don't know how many million. I just made that number up, but I'm sure that there are a lot of them. There's a graph on the
That's
Steam
how we roll
site
here.
that tells you how many people are playing on Steam.
11 million Steam.
So what? Do you have 11 million accounts, Ed?
Look like, all right. We're not getting into this argument, but I enjoy playing on the PC.
Fuck you, man. Stop trying to justify your purchase to me.
Look, put it this way. I already own a PC, so it's not too bad. I'll play games on it. I don't have to buy a separate console.
His mum bought him a PC, so he's trying to justify it.
That's right, man. My mum bought me a PC.
So it sounds like we've finished talking about Sonic.
No, we haven't. We've gotten nowhere on Sonic, actually. We got to continue on Sonic. We've gone through...
Serious? I'll be backing it off.
What the hell has happened to Sonic now in the modern gaming era?
He couldn't adapt to 3D. Like
that man, motherfucker had a game last year.
He suffered
Has anyone
the
played
same
the
fate
Wii?
as
Has
all
anybody played the Wii game?
I do have the Sonic Generations, which is the latest one that came out, and that I actually think is a very interesting idea, because what they've basically done is they've had a look and they've gone, okay, well look, you've got both Sonic and Mario who've like both recently released 2D versions of their games. They've gone back to the basics and gone back to the 2D versions because they're the ones that have been the most popular. So what Sega did is go, well, look, let's combine the both of them and have a look at Sonic's history. So they've got this game. They've divided it up basically into 3 parts, where you've got classic, then you've got like your middle part, like your Dreamcast era, and then you've got like the new console era. And they've basically made taken levels out of each of those eras and the games out of each of those eras, and they've made on each level they've made basically a 2D version of the game and a 3D version, and you've got the 2 different Sonics, the classic Sonic and who doesn't talk, and the modern Sonic who does, playing within the game. So you've got stuff like the Sonic 2 stage is like the chemical plant zone, which was the second level in Sonic 2. And the first, the 2D one is based off exactly like that, but then they've got the 3D one, and they've basically made the same level, and they've made it pretty much the same sort of thing, but they've actually done it in a 3D mode. And they do it quite well.
See, that Sonic Generations was the last purely Sonic game, and it was released on everything except Wii.
Yeah, right. All the
like PC,
systems.
PS3, Xbox 360, PC.
Yeah.
So Ed bought it. Here's the other one.
Absolutely, man. I buy every PC game.
No, Ed bought it
I downloaded it.
Every PC game.
But in 3DS, like, it was on everything except for the Wii, because the Wii actually gets nothing. Only idiots own Wiis. But after that, because there was this, I don't know when it was, maybe it was a couple of years ago, suddenly Sonic became a Mario character. So he appears in Mario games.
Yeah.
That's called dynamic marketing.
Oh, dynamic marketing. There we got it. Yeah. So there was the in 2007 or 2000. When was the I think it was 2007, because it was just before the Olympics. 2008 was the Olympics.
Yeah.
Right. They had Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think before that they had it in Smash Brothers though, didn't they? Or Smash Brothers?
No, I think Smash Brothers was after that on the Wii.
Yep.
And then they repeated the successful awesome game.
2 more times, yeah.
Yeah. But actually, I don't know how accurate Wikipedia is, but Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, the first one that came out before the 2008 Olympics. I remember when it came out, and me and Brian went to like a Wii something. I can't remember what it was. It was in a mall, and we sampled it, and it was just everything was like, okay, the swimming event. I can shake the nunchuck and the Wiimote up and down. Now we're running. Shake the nunchuck and the Wiimote up and down. Let's do hurdles. Shake the nunchuck and the Wiimote up and down. But that sold 11.3 million copies.
Yeah, right. So Sonic fans will buy any old garbage, is what you're trying to say.
But then when you come down to Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games, it sold 2.7 million copies. So I'm pretty sure everyone realised what the fuck is this?
The Winter Olympics one, when they had it like for the Vancouver Olympic Games, like because it was Winter Olympic Games, that one actually wasn't too bad. Like with the especially like with the snowboarding and the skiing, you could actually use the Wii Balance Board as well.
Oh, that's so one of the 2 games other than Wii Fit that use the Wii Balance Board.
Yeah, but it was actually like it wasn't actually like that bad a game, especially because it had ice hockey in it too. So
this is the thing with Sonic, like he's gone through so many shit games. Has he ever had a really good one?
That's what I was about to ask you guys.
The first few were good.
Yeah, the first 3.5.
It just gets repetitive.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at that though. Like, by the time Sonic came out, like on Mega Drive, Mario was already out in Japan.
For 10 years or something like that.
Well, I mean, I'm
like a long time.
I'm talking about Super Mario World was already out.
Oh, okay, yep.
So this is Sonic's contemporary, is Super Mario World, and you know when you put Sonic up next to Super Mario World, does it even stand up next to it? Like,
but I think that like, look, I didn't play Mario at the time, but maybe there were a good 5, 6, 7 years of Mario games, and look, all of a sudden something came out that's a little bit different, a bit faster. People were like temporarily intrigued with it.
Yeah.
Bought the game, were interested for a while, but then turned out to be not that great. So it had a few years of dominance,
Yeah.
and that was it.
I think its big weakness was that it was just too limited in gameplay.
Yeah.
The one thing about like Super Mario World, like say compared to Sonic 2, which they were both pretty much released, I think, at the same time, being 92, was the fact that the best thing about Super Mario World was the fact that it had 98 levels. Now, there's no way that they could do that with Sonic, like with the way that they
Mario World was out in Japan when Sonic 1 was out.
Yeah.
It was already out.
In the rest of the world. The important parts of the world, Brian. The important parts.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Don't worry about Japan. We're not talking about knicker sniffers.
Because a Japanese audience.
Okay, guys, I'm just looking at the live stats. We've
see,
just lost 48 million listeners.
We had 48 million?
We had
Is that
48
like
million.
it's 11.5 million Steam
We had
users?
48 million and one. So yeah,
But yeah, like Sonic 2, like compared to Mario, like people always compare them, but gameplay wise, you can't really compare them because they are so completely different. Like you're either going to love or hate Mario, and you're either going to love or hate Sonic, and you might like both, like I do, but it's not necessarily followed that you're gonna. If you like one, you're gonna like the other.
that's been
right.
You're either a Beatles man or an Elvis man. Which one are you?
Or a
Beatles.
Coming from the time my friends and I were Sega owners, and after Sonic 1, my friends were better at games than me, so they completed it, quicker than 3 days. And after Sonic 2 came out, I remember my friend Grant, he completed it within a day, and then Sonic 3 completed within a day, and he just had enough. And my other mate, he didn't buy them at all. He just rented them out, completed them within a day. So in my little circle of Sega owners, we'd just had enough of Sonic, and we were moving on to other games, after basically the second one.
What other
that
games?
was it.
What was on Sega
We
Master?
got into the sports games. No, I'm talking Mega Drives and stuff.
Oh, sorry, Mega Drive. They had what's that game, Brian? The one with the Double Dragon clone.
Streets of Rage.
Yes, that's the
Oh, that
one.
game was bad.
Nah, man, that's the bomb. How fucking good was it going through that when I got my Xbox and down? Was it on Xbox or Wii?
It was, yeah. That game is Michael Jackson bad, man. That is so good.
I used to play
I
that,
wasn't a
Sam,
fan.
so much. And then, got
That's
it on the Wii.
crazy, my friend.
It's the bomb, especially that last level. Come on, where you just die.
Oh,
The bombs are dropping. Can you dodge them? Or you can move anywhere on the screen. You're gonna get hit. You're gonna die. That's the Mega Drive games. So the latest Sonic the Hedgehog release, I gotta ask, has anyone played it?
Yeah, I've got it.
No.
The All Stars Racing Transform. No, that
Wow, you really are the
That's
fanboy.
racing. No,
very
I don't.
very latest All Stars Racing.
I have played. Yep, I've played All Stars Racing Transformed. Downloaded the demo
That
on
was
the
the one
Wii.
you were talking about. I thought you were talking about when you said you downloaded the Sonic Racing demo. I thought you were talking about Sonic R or whatever it was called.
I don't know what that is.
That's the first racing one.
Oh, okay. No. They've got the demo of the new Sonic Racing game. It's really good. I quite liked it. Like, I know people don't like it as much as Mario Kart, but I actually prefer.
See, I've got
speed.
the original of that one. I don't have the sequel, like the original Sega Racer, not the Sega Racer Transformer.
Yeah.
Okay, we're coming to the end of the Sonic the Hedgehog podcast. We're gonna ask the two major questions. We'll go through each of us one by one. So, Craig, Kraj, are Sonic games still relevant in today's day and age?
Unless he gets a machine gun and starts shooting terrorists, no.
Sam, are Sonic games still relevant in today's day and age?
Only if you like nostalgia.
Mhm.
Ooh.
Ed?
Fuck no. Two
John
simple words.
Big
Brian,
fan, big fan.
Brian.
That's my problem with Sonic, is that I really don't know if it was ever relevant even back in the day. So I don't know. Like I did have a lot of fun going back and playing the original Sonic, and I love.
Did you just say going black and playing?
Yeah, going back.
Once you go black, you never go back.
Blackface.
A lot of fun going back and playing it, and there's a lot of things that are really, really good about Sonic. Even though we tend to rip on games a lot, the reality is I still have a lot of fun playing these old games. But I don't know if it was just because I was having like Stockholm syndrome
I
or
think
something.
we were excited about getting into this podcast actually.
Yeah, because like when I was first playing it, it's like when there's times in your life where you're so bored that you go to sleep.
Yes.
Nothing else to do, just like go to sleep. Like that's how fucking bored I was when I was playing. But after like getting into the swing of it, and I actually thought it was a lot of fun, but still like I got to question myself whether I was just being delusional or it was all the flashing lights or what. Like,
yes, you did go into an epileptic fit for 2 hours. Wake up, forget what you'd been doing, and go, fucking Sonic's mad.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree that like Sonic is different to Mario. He plays different. He's not Mario, but I'm just wondering if ever he was good at all. Like,
I'm gonna have to go the way of Brian and say Sonic was never fucking relevant. I'm gonna say it in a much nicer or maybe less nicer way than Brian. He was fucking stupid,
Less words,
useless, fucking stupid and fucking useless. Should never have existed and shouldn't exist today. So on to the second most important question of the podcast: Where does the Sonic character or series need to go to become or stay relevant, Craig? What do they need to do?
All right. I'm not sure if there is much they can do. I think, basically it's got to be first person, I think. Or no, not first person. What do you call it? Third person?
3D.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, 3D, and basically you got to, like with everything now, movies and all that, you got to make it like some sort of intense thrill ride, basically. Like it was advertised back in 1991. Oh, this is a fast game. You'll be amazed and you'll get an epileptic fit with the shiny lights. They just basically got to do that now. You've got to be an intense thrill ride where you've got to jump and do everything fast and all that sort of stuff. That's the only thing you can do.
Sam?
I pretty much agree. Like, I pretty much agree with Craig in that. Like, if they're going to continue the Sonic games, they need to actually have a look. Well, first of all, what actually made the first ones popular? Why was it so good? And have a look and make the 3D games, and actually have a look at the other 3D games like the Mario ones, and make the levels so that you can explore them and so that they are really big and that you can do all of that sort of stuff, rather than just have it so that you go along this track. You collect the rings over here. You collect the rings over here. You can jump over here and get that item box, and like make it so that they've got to stop it from being so linear, and actually, bring it back to a thrill ride.
Ed, what do you think?
Look, the time for platformers has passed. So for me, Sonic, the way to make it cool or good. Sonic's in his early 30s. He's a bit disillusioned with life.
I think he's in his early 20s.
He still collects rings, but he only collects them so he can sell them to buy drugs and guns.
Oh no, it's Grand Theft Auto Sonic.
It's GTA Sonic, basically.
I will play that for about an hour on iPhone. On the way to work
you just
one
play
day.
the actual Sonic game.
Ed, you just described Gollum from The Hobbit. Rings, you must have them.
Brian, what do you think?
My precious.
Brian, what do you think Sonic needs to do to become relevant?
I'm gonna go the opposite of Sam, and I'm gonna say that they need to get rid of all the exploration and forget about that side of Sonic altogether. And I'm more in line with what Craig said, and just make it a high octane experience where. I kind of want it just to be on rails and you're just burning along, pressing jump at the right time, dodging things at the right time. There's like divergent paths, but they all kind of lead to the same way.
Are you saying Sonic should turn into DDR?
Could I say
Not-
something here?
no.
On the iPad, there's a game called Sonic Jump, which I downloaded, as part of research for this podcast, and it is exactly that game. It is like stripped down. Basically, you jump and you move left or right, like as quick as possible to react to things.
Yeah, that's what I want. But I
It's
still
not,
want, I
it's
want
not
it to
good
be
though.
3D.
It's not good at all.
I want it
That's
to be
2D.
Is that yeah? I want it to be 3D, like the camera behind me, just burning along. I can see like the ramps coming up in a distance or everything, because 2D and speed don't work. Like you can't see anything
That's
coming
true.
up. And
Yeah.
so I want it to be that's the Sonic I want. I just want a really fast, high-paced Sonic, and I don't want to have to fiddle around with rings and getting hit and all that. I just want to burn along.
You like fiddling
Just
with
make it-
rings.
Make it about reaction, how quickly you can react to what's coming up.
Totally,
Basically.
yeah.
So I'm gonna have to go a completely different tack to all of you. They need to put Sonic the Hedgehog, send him the way of Mr. Game Man Watch,
Yeah.
and just include him as a bonus character in Smash Brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's it. And maybe, just maybe, if you get enough Nintendo points, you can get Sonic on 3DS. That's it. That's what Sonic needs to do, because motherfucker was never relevant, and no matter what motherfucker does, motherfucker is always going to be a motherfucker.
John, I have one more question before we hang up.
Yep.
Before we stop this, what did Sonic the Hedgehog ever do to you?
So this has been our ringing endorsement of Sonic the Hedgehog. Thanks for listening.
So that's I guess that's all we've got. Does Sonic actually achieve anything else in life?
No, that's it.
Made a lot of money for Sega for a little while.
For a little while, and then they spent it on retarded, ridiculous shit. Dreamcast.
But before,
The 32X, you forgot that one.
There is one thing that Sonic did that Sonic did better than Mario, and that was at least they didn't bring out a fucking live action Sonic movie.
Cam made one. You should check that out.
Isn't there a Sonic and Tails movie? I thought I saw it on Wikipedia, like a French American movie.
It's
Yeah,
cartoons.
There's cartoons, yeah. That's the other thing. Using cartoons,
Yeah.
some weird ass music floating around.
I bought the comic book.
There's some comic books. Yes, there are.
Yeah.
But there was two cartoons, and one was actually not too bad, and the other was fucking terrible.
Can I just say, on the Wikipedia there is a section called Reception and Legacy. Motherfucker has no legacy.
So write to Wikipedia and complain.
I am. I'm submitting an edit right now. Reception and my balls.
Before we wrap it up, I want to give a public service announcement to say that Balloon Fight has been made available on the Wii U's Virtual Console for 30 cents, so grab it while you can.
I have that already, man. What the fuck? And you know,
All those people who don't have it already.
look, I can buy it for $1 now. I can convert it,
No, you want to get the 30-cent one.
but I can convert it for $1.
And if you're in the UK server, you get it in 50 hertz, not 60 hertz. So
Even better. But actually, Reception and Legacy of Sonic the Hedgehog. Back to Sonic the Hedgehog. He was the best-selling game on Sega systems
yeah,
in 2008. He was the longest-running comic based on a video game.
oh wow.
Wow, that is intense.
That's pretty good. When I was reading about the Mega CD version, this comment struck me. Mega Magazine placed Sonic the CD as the number 3 in the list of the top 10 Mega CD games of all time. First of all, top 10 Mega CDs of games of all time. The
There's
all
only
time is a
10.
little bit redundant. When you talk about a 2-year period. The second
There are only 9 games on Mega CD.
yeah, and the second part that struck me as odd is like, okay, Sonic CD was a pretty highly rated game. Being ranked number 3 in the list of top 10 Mega CD games of all time is a bit like being ranked the 3rd hottest girl at a Magic the Gathering tournament. or the third straightest man at a Justin Bieber concert. It's not a really good ringing endorsement
Ed,
skill.
have you won the 3rd hottest goal?
No, it's been a prize out of my reach, unfortunately.
So
I'm still searching, guys.
our next podcast will be in a month, and we will be doing what again?
First-person
Shooters. First-person shooters.
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
Dude,
That will be fun.
Wolfenstein, Call of
Oh,
Duty,
yeah.
the greatest
Call of
game ever made that never won a Game of the Year, Call of Duty 1746-42.
We doing Doom in this one?
We will include Doom.
I
You have
still
to do
remember all
Quake
my
as
Doom.
well. Quake's
I still remember all the Doom cheat codes: IDKFA or IDKMA, IDDQD,
Okay.
IDS.
On that note,
Third hottest girl at the Magic the Gathering.
on that note,
Right.
we're rooting for you.
Please do.
everybody
I
out
can't
there,
get it done myself, so.
thanks for listening. We've been Craig, Sam, Ed, and Brian. Please continue rooting for us because we're unable to root for ourselves.